everyone! So we're here today to do the 12 Days of Christmas book tag. It's almost Christmas time and we are getting in the spirit. This video was originally done by Lizzie Loves Books, and I'll leave a link to her channel and her video down below. So without further ado, we have 12 questions because it's the 12 Days of Christmas. So let's just jump into it.
Let's do it.
So the first question is, Partridge in a Pear Tree, your favorite standalone book?
Well, that's just hard.
Or one of them.
So I chose one of my favorite standalones from this year, and that is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. I just remember being so absorbed in this, and I really liked the characters. I really liked the world. It was cold and snowy.
Yeah.
And I was just obsessed with this book for so long.
Very wintry.
And, yeah. I just loved it.
And I'm so excited that she announced we're getting a Halvard book because
Yes.
I loved Halvard.
Yes, he was the little brother in this book, and he was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I was pretty much in it for him
Yeah.
and the romance.
Yeah.
But he was just great. So, recommend it, guys.
Now, I wanted to go with a book that I gave 5 stars, but don't talk about often, and I think needs some more praise. It came out a while ago and it actually won the Prince Award, which is like
cool.
the biggest award in YA, really. As Bone Gap by Laura Ruby. This is just like a really cool magical realism story set in the town of Bone Gap, and it follows a couple different perspectives, and it's really just about family and bees.
Bees.
And bees.
Bees.
It's really, really atmospheric. I absolutely loved it, and I think more people need to pick it up. It has high praise from many people, and I agree with all.
I'll have to put it on my list because I think you have mentioned it a few times.
Yeah, me and Karina both really like it.
Sounds really good.
It is very, very interesting.
I do love bees.
And
Protect
bees.
your bees, everyone. We need them.
Protect your bees. Alright, so question 2 is 2 Turtle Doves. Your favorite fictional OTP or ship?
It's going to be no surprise to anyone who knows me. But it's Kath and Levi from Fangirl. I was looking at my bookcase last night and I was just like, it's the obvious choice. I just love them. I just love their whole relationship. He's so sweet. They're both so cute and fun. Yeah.
I went with a very different. This is a more of a ship. The ship hasn't sailed.
Oh.
But that is Shallan and Kaladin in The Way of Kings, the Stormlight Archive series. Shallan is actually betrothed to another character, and all of the characters get along, so it's like this, like, yeah, but I ship her with somebody else, but there's like tension there between Shallan and Kaladin.
So there's something.
There's definitely tension there, and
is the series over yet?
God no, there's 3 books out and this to be 10.
Well, there's still hope there. It can happen.
This series is going to be coming out until I am 40 years old. No, longer than that. 50 years old.
You got something to look forward to.
He writes one every 3 years. So,
well, look at them.
Yeah.
As well as with everything else he puts out. No wonder he's...
This is book 1. This is the mass market, to be fair, but because I didn't want to bring my other chunky ones, but it is 1,250 pages long.
Sensible.
And it's the shortest of the series thus far.
I really want to read more Sanderson. Like, I've only read the
really,
Mistborn
really
series,
good.
but yeah,
This
it's on the list.
It's intimidating, but it's fantastic.
Is it Steelheart you recommended to me that I would probably like?
Yeah, it's like as a funner, like, YA.
Yeah.
It's not 1,000 pages long. But yeah, I love those characters, and I ship them, and maybe someday, when I'm 50 years old, it might happen.
They'll throw a party.
Yeah. So the third prompt is 3 French Hens, your favorite trilogy.
Well, I cheated. I'm always cheating. It's not a trilogy that I've finished, but it's a trilogy that I'm currently obsessed with. And that is the Arlo Finch series by John August. This was in a OwlCrate Junior book in February of last year, and I adored it. And Sally just happened to get an early copy of the sequel that comes out in the spring, and it was twice as good. Like, it's so hard for, like, follow-up books in a trilogy to be just as good.
It's usually like a sophomore
But like, yeah, he introduces you to this crazy world, and then he shows you what it can do, and it's just.
I still need to get to that one.
Obsessed. So, I'm gonna. I picked up my own hardcover copy of this because I loved it so much, and I will be pre-ordering this for the spring. But then I have to wait until 2020 for the third book. So I'm hoping Sally just happens to get an arc of the third one. And then
Yeah, she probably will late next year.
So yes, if you haven't checked these out and you're a fan of middle grade and adventure, just go get them.
I'm also cheating because it's another trilogy that will it ever end? We don't know. At least we know that one's gonna end. This one is it's a little bit of a sore spot for a lot of people, I think. And no hate to Patrick Rothfuss, but The King Killer Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. The first book is The Name of the Wind. I read these books several years ago now and adored them. And still no word on book 3. So, and it's gonna be the end. And I think so many people are going to lose their bloody minds if that book ever comes out.
At least it has a name now.
It's had a name for
Doors
years.
Doors of Stone or something?
It had a name when I read it 4 years ago.
Oh, really?
3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
Such a good series.
It's so good. And like, no regrets having read the first 2 books, but the wait is a teeny tiny bit painful. But it is a favorite trilogy. It is technically not a trilogy yet.
Yes, exactly.
So good though. Alright, oopsies. 4 is For Calling Birds, your favorite fictional beast or creature.
I went with a weird one just because I didn't want to choose something from Harry Potter. I was like, I'll try something else. So I chose the Quark Beast in the middle grade trilogy that Jasper Fforde did, which is the Last Dragon Slayer series. I forget what the actual trilogy is called, but he is this mysterious little magical creature, and there's a little excerpt from the book that I just happened to have a screenshot of. And it says, the little scene is, the Quark Beast sniffed Villier's trouser leg excitedly and wagged his tail. You have a new wooden leg, Sergeant, I observed, made of walnut. How do you know? Walnut is catnip to a Quark Beast. If you still have your old one, I'd wear it next time you come round. I'll remember that, he said, peering nervously at the Quark Beast, who was in turn staring intently at his leg, its razor-sharp fangs dripping with saliva. He'd have eaten the leg in under a second if I'd allowed him, but the Quark Beasts, for all their fearsome looks, were dutiful to a fault. They were 1/10 Labrador, and the rest was a mix of Velociraptor and a kitchen blender. It was the 10th that mattered. So he's just like having a dog/lion, but you don't want to hug him because he's just covered in like vicious spikes.
But also like sentient.
Yeah, and I feel he's gonna be featured more in the sequel, which I have yet to pick up, but he's very constant companion in the first book. So.
Now I picked another Brandon Sanderson, and that is Nightblood, who you first meet in Warbreaker.
Oh, I got my books confused. I was excited about something else.
But Nightblood is, he's not a beast or a creature really, he's a sentient sword. So he's like, and like more chaotic evil than on the good side. Even if somebody good is wielding him, he will like very much like encourage you to do the bad thing, be like, destroy, destroy. And you get to meet him because Brandon Sanderson's worlds are they overlap in interesting ways. So you get to see Nightblood in different series. And like you can be like, and even though Warbreaker is part of the Cosmere, but none of the characters or anything like that overlap. Ish. So, but you do see Nightblood again. And I was reading his most recent book, Oathbringer, which is in the Stormlight Archive, that came out last year, and Nightblood's back, and I'm like, but yeah, he's just like, he's not a nice sword, but he's like a very entertaining character that's not actually alive, but is. But yeah, so cool. Anyways, very, very good.
When I saw the Sanderson cover, I thought it was Mistborn, and I love the shapeshifter character who starts off impersonating someone. You know how...
I know what you mean.
But anyways, yes. I love that character.
Brandon Sanderson makes great characters. So 5 is 5 golden rings, of course, so show us 5 golden books. So I actually got 5, I got really gold books. I got Fate of the Tearling, 3rd book in the Tearling trilogy, I forget what it's called. Sure. The Crown Tower, book 2 in, book 1 in the Rhaeria Chronicles. Everland by Jenny Spinell, awesome Peter Pan retelling that we used to be an OwlCrate book. Well, it was an OwlCrate book in the past. The Crowns Game by Evelyn Skye. Which has a dirty spine? Nope, it's not dirty, it's just that color. And then this epic beast, The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, which is an amazing book that takes place, it follows the building of a cathedral over 3 generations of families.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually fantastic. I highly recommend it. And it's quite long. But what's new? I quite like long books.
Yes, you do. So I went with 5 golden titles.
Spines, yeah.
And we have The Tiger at Midnight, which I've never heard of before, but
we just picked these off the shelves.
It comes out next year. Yeah, again, I cheated because I'm a big cheater. As She Ascends, which is the sequel to Before She Ignites. Of Fire and Stars, which we included in December in 2016. Walk on Earth, a Stranger, which I have heard good things about.
It's good. Fun historical fiction with a twist.
And a beautiful copy of A Wrinkle in Time, which I read years and years and years ago, and I absolutely loved it. So it was kind of fun to watch the movie recently.
Done.
Done.
6 Geese laying a rotten egg. What's your least favorite book?
So generally I'm a liker, but when people ask me what I thought of certain books, I hated A Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling.
Which is why nobody owns it.
Yeah. I tried to I have the ebook, I think, but I figured it would be on the shelf upstairs. I thought you might have it, but no, nobody has it, probably because it sucks. I mean, I love small British towns, I love drama, but it just was a bunch of characters that I just hated. And then I kind of felt sorry for them, and then I'm like, no, I still hate you, DNF.
Yeah, I think I got 10 pages in,
I just
and I was
couldn't.
like, done. And I don't DNF books, typically. It takes a lot for me to be like, not doing this.
I mean, it was very atmospheric. I could visualize this town and the houses on the hill, and the girl took the bus to school, and this little, like, council estate, and I could picture it, but I was just like, it's inhabited by people I can't stand.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
and mine is one that I've talked about several times, and I wish it wasn't big, because I'm just saying I have to lug it into the office when we have to talk about our least favorite book, and that is Zebulon Finch at the Edge of Empire by Daniel Kraus, and I just hated this book. I gave it 1 star. There's necrophilia. Just not a fan. Just not going to go into it anymore. We're moving on. I hate that book. 7 Swans a Swimming, show a book with water on the cover.
Alright, so I went through my entire bookcase and was like, I don't have a book that has water on the cover.
That's so unusual.
And then I found a stack of books that are like in between being shelved or possibly being stored or donated, and that is Aloha Candy Hearts by Anthony Vidalka. Now, his Russell Quant series is actually one of my favorite series. He's a Canadian detective fiction writer. He's like, what's the word I'm looking for? He's centered in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, so he's in this small, tiny town, but in most of his cases, he ends up traveling all around the world. He's been to Hawaii, he's been to India, he's been to Africa, and he's an LGBT-friendly detective. So he is a gay detective from small town Saskatoon, and they're really good. If you like good mysteries and a little bit of Canadiana and like to get around the world, I definitely recommend his series. They're really well written. I think he stopped. I think the series is officially over, so I've read them all, and now they're just kind of sitting on a stack of...
It's not the most beautiful cover I've ever seen.
No. Like, there's water.
There is water. I'm like, it could have been just like the font choices. I'm judging this book by its cover.
Well, yeah, the font choices, at least all his books are consistent. Like, the font is always the same, and the kind of the layout, but it always has the background of whichever, like, country or area that he'll be in at the time. And
but there's one.
Yeah, the Africa one is like has a really stunning cover, but yeah.
There water. You go. That counts. And mine, you can almost not tell it's water, but it is very much water. And that is Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman. This is a very different Neil Shusterman book. This is inspired by his own experience with having a son with schizophrenia. And it's kind of about a kid with schizophrenia. And it's was very well written. I really, really liked it, and I love this cover.
It was really nice.
Yeah. It's a really good one to check out if you like Neil Shusterman, even if you just like read Scythe, which is kind of his big one right now. I think you could read this and still really appreciate the writing, and it also is just like a very, like, kind of like heart-wrenching at times, but also like really important, I think so. And it's also just a stunning cover. Alright, so 8 Maids a-Milking. What fictional food do you wish you could taste? And we picked the same one.
Picked the same thing without even knowing.
And apparently it's not fictional, which I
it is
didn't
today.
realize because I googled it.
Well, if I can't get my hands on it, it's fictional.
It's fictional. But it's called Metheglin?
Metheglin, that's kind of what I say, yeah.
Metheglin?
And
it's from the Kingkiller Chronicles as well.
And it says, I took a drink from the tall tankard to give myself a chance to collect my wits, and something wonderful happened in my mouth. Cool spring honey, clove, cardamom, cinnamon, pressed grape, burnt apple, sweet pear, and clear well water. That's all I have to say of Metheglin. Metheglin. My words are beside me today. If you haven't tried it, then I'm sorry I cannot describe it properly. If you have, you don't need me to remind you what it's like.
Apparently it's like, it's a kind of mead, apparently.
Yeah. It sounds like something that would taste good, slightly warm, like some mead is. And it has everything in it that I love, and I want to drink it every holiday season.
So that's what I picked. And also, it sounds really hard to make, so we'll pretend it doesn't exist.
Until I have a bottle in my stocking for Christmas,
it doesn't exist. Right, number 9 is 9 Ladies Dancing. Favorite dance between 2 characters? Ah, yes.
Emergency dance party.
That's a good one.
It's just where she's finally kind of let her walls down, and she's like, I know I'm usually awkward around you, but I need to dance this out because. So, yeah, Kathleen Levi dancing it out. I wish I had the edition that has the illustrations in it, because it's a really cool piece of artwork.
I picked the dance between Kel and Lila in A Gathering of Shadows, when at the contestants' ball
banquet
thing. There's dancing
event,
and it's just kind of the beginnings of their smooching.
kind of a bit of the about time.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I just love Kel and Lila. I almost made them my favorite OTB because I just adore them.
They are great.
They're great. Alright, and then 10 Lords a-Leaping. Favorite book-to-movie adaptation?
That I don't have, but I'm going with The Body by Stephen King. And that became Stand By Me, which is one of my top favorite movies of all time. It's so great. It's so well adapted. And I remember seeing the movie a lot as a kid because it came out in the 80s. And then one day I was reading Different Seasons, the collection that book is in. And I was reading it for The Shawshank Redemption, which was also a great movie adaptation. It was followed by Apt People, also adapted into a movie. And then the third thing, but because it was called The Body, I had no idea what it was. But as I was reading of like, I've experienced this before. And since I've read it lots of times, and I love the movie. And then the 4th novella in that book, I think, is called The Breathing Method, and I've never read it and have no idea what it's about.
I went with something controversial, and it's not a movie, it's a TV show, and because I could have I want to see Love, Simon, and we just watched Dumplin', and that was really good.
Wasn't it?
It was, and To All the Boys I Loved Before, and that was really good, and Lord of the Rings, but those things are all obvious. Yeah. So I'm going with, because I really didn't like this series reading it, and I have a really fun time watching it, even though I understand it's not technically great.
That's fair.
And that is Shadowhunters by Cassandra Clare. I actually stopped watching it. It's cancelled now, but I think I watched the first 2 seasons.
Oh, totally. I was all up in that business, yeah.
And, but I thoroughly didn't like this series.
I didn't either. I didn't make it through the first book.
So, I mean, don't at me. You're free to like it, but wasn't me. I read the whole thing. But the Shadowhunters TV show was highly amusing.
It was really good.
It's cheesy, but really fun.
Because they made a movie too.
Yeah, which
and the
was
movie
really
was
bad.
So I gave the TV show a shot one day just because when you're sitting watching Netflix.
Yeah.
And I was really into it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like this book. But anyway, so the TV show was fun. I think the TV show is probably more fun for people who don't care about the series. Because a lot of things are changed and, they're doing Like
it helps the story.
They twisted a lot of things.
What they did.
So I feel like if people really like the series, they probably, from what I've seen, didn't love the TV show. Whereas like I couldn't give two craps about this series, so the TV show was fun.
I love that you never mince words. You're like,
I don't like it. But it's not for everyone. I mean, like
not everything is.
I can appreciate the story, and I did read The Infernal Devices this year, which everybody says it's much better, and I agree.
Oh,
it was a much better trilogy. But the Mortal Instruments, not my cup of tea. Alright, and 11 is 11 Pipers Piping, your favorite book-to-movie adaptation soundtrack.
Well, I bet everybody thought I was going to choose Love, Simon for adaptation, but I definitely chose it for soundtrack. And not the official soundtrack. The creators made character playlists on
fun.
Spotify, as if Abby made a playlist, this would be on it if Simon made one. And Martin's playlist is the most most fun playlist out there, and I listen to it all the time. It's full of like absurdity, but I'm just like, this is amazing.
It's very Martin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very Martin. Like if I were to pick up his iPod, I would be like, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so well done.
And I went with Harry Potter just because when I start hearing the Harry Potter, like it almost like makes me like emotional.
It does.
Like when we walked into Harry Potter World for the first time, and they're like when you're walking into Hogsmeade and all the music's blasting, I like grabbed Karina's arm and I was like,
we're here.
So it's like just that music just like does something to me. So I have to say the Harry Potter soundtrack just because it's just so nostalgic.
I listened to a lot of movie scores, and a lot of them are from book adaptations. How to Train Your Dragon, great score. But I chose the Martin's playlist because I definitely listen to it all the time.
Yeah, that's fair. Alright, so we're down to the last question, and that is 12 drummers drumming. It's the end of the song. What's your favorite book ending?
I found that was a cruel question.
It's a hard question.
I even said that to John last night. I was like, so I have to choose a book that's my favorite book ending. I'm like, I don't know. So, another classic Crystal cheat. I chose the Han Solo trilogy by A.C. Crispin, which includes The Paradise Stare, The Hutt Gambit, and Rebel Dawn. And at the end of Rebel Dawn, everything has kind of been wrapped up, and it finishes off in the cantina on Mos Eisley, where Chewie comes up to Han and says, I found someone that needs a ride. So with that ending, you're officially just off to Star Wars. So it's just like this perfect connection between trilogies. And
I went with one, and this one is a little bit tricky, because again, I had a hard time with this too, but I went with Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness, but only in the edition that features the novella. Because this book ends in a way that's... I don't think you've read the novella, have you?
I've only read the first novella where she's in the spaceship.
So, the last novella in this series takes place directly after the series ends and changes the ending by a vast way. And it's much better if you read that novella. So...
Sounds like I'm in for a reread.
Yeah, I really want to reread the series. I've been meaning to for ages. But... yeah, so if you get the edition with the novella, I believe this is the UK... No. Is it UK? No, this is not. This is the US. But yeah, find the editions, paperback editions with the novellas, because I literally didn't realize that this was like an additional story. It just like felt like...
More story,
and then I heard that that most books don't contain it, and I was like, oh my, like you need that story. So, it's very interesting. So you get the ones with the short stories in it. Makes it way better. Alright, so that was...
12 Days of Christmas.
Yes, it was. That's a very long song. And thank you so much for watching. If you guys do this tag or do any other Christmassy tags, because we're into the holiday spirit right now, link them down below for us. We'd like to take a watch. And if you like this, please give a big thumbs up and subscribe for more. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome.
Bye.
Bye.